Welcome to the Doris Duke Theater at the Honolulu Museum of Art. My name is Taylor, and I'm fortunate enough to work in this space. And on behalf of the theater and the museum, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this incredible program. We're very honored to be able to facilitate this afternoon's event and to make space for a much-needed conversation featuring voices of truly inspiring individuals in our community. Home Free Aloha in Art is part of what's called the For Freedom's 50 State Initiative, and it's essentially a nationwide campaign that aims to use art spaces as a means to inspire broad civic participation. It is a national network spanning the continent as well as right here in Hawaii, that uses our spaces for civic discourse to spark widespread dialogue about the most difficult questions facing our society today. It's decentralized, concurrent public events over the past several weeks. For this afternoon's program, we have incredible community partners without whom today would not be possible. It's Uhonua Hawaiianai, Tyrole's Angels, Hui Aloha, and the Wolf and Woman Youth Arts Program. And I just want to thank everyone from those organizations and those groups, all of the people who came together to collaborate, all of the conversations and the preparation that it took to lead up till today. It was incredibly inspiring for us to learn from you and to continue to learn from you in that process. So thank you. Yes. And as an arts organization, we want to recognize the lived art, the creativity and innovation that we find in the speakers and the communities that they represent. They fully embody that lived art and creativity and innovation. And not only do we want to recognize and appreciate that, but we also want to learn from it and be inspired to live better beyond today's event. We are all here today to ensure that the voices of those facing precarious housing are represented and that they have a platform in the public discourse of houselessness, especially during this time when it's a hot topic of debate. Today's program, we're going to begin with a very, very special art photo presentation by the Wolf and Woman Arts Youth Program, and that'll be immediately followed by our featured panel with guest speakers representing the voices and perspectives of Pu'uhonua O Wai, Kaka, and Waimanalo Beach Park. And I want to give a shout out to Kaimana from Hui Aloha for creating the video that you just saw. Thank you so much for creating that. So I'd like to invite Marie and Cindy from the Wolf and Woman Youth Arts Program to talk a little bit about this incredible project, and they'll be introducing our very special photo artists for today who'll be sharing the photos with you. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming Marie and Cindy.
Hello, everyone. This is really, I'm really nervous right now. This is scary. My name is Marie Ariel Hobro. I'm a documentary photographer and filmmaker and the founder of Wolf and Woman, which is a documentary collective and community organization for women, people of color, and the LGBT community.
My name is Sydney Kelly, and I'm a photojournalist and a member of Wolf and Woman.
So for me, photography is something that's helped me go from being like a troublemaker that would enjoy like getting suspended and failing classes and getting arrested. And photography changed me to being someone that wanted to achieve something bigger for myself and for my family. So I've always wanted to help other kids find that passion in life. So last year, Sydney and I created a youth art program for low-income youth for Wolf and Women.
Being that some of us come from low-income communities, working with the youth from similar backgrounds is our driving force and main priority.
Our aim is to amplify their voices by teaching them the basics of photography, the power of visual storytelling, and the impact that photos can have on society through hands-on education. We spent almost every Sunday this past year going up to Pu'uhonua, O Wai, to teach the kids, and all of the kids are incredibly bright and talented and funny, and they're full of brilliant ideas, and I'm going to start crying because they make me emotional, but yeah.
They always amaze us with their ideas and vision, and they photograph Waimanalo in a way that we've never seen before. This program is just here to help them refine their already natural talents that we already see.
Yeah, and then in a society filled with fake saviorism and meaningless work, we're trying to teach them how powerful it is when they're telling their own stories, and these photos that we're about to show you will show you how powerful those voices are. Oh, sorry, that's still my part. These kids definitely don't need us in the same way that I once needed photography, because they have an amazing support system within the village as is, and they were all on track to bright futures long before we met them.
So the support system in the village is already very strong, and with people like Twinkle Borge and Josiah Correa behind them, they're already destined for greatness. Without further ado, we're incredibly proud to present our first speaker, Soraya Castro.
Hi, my name is Soraya Castro, and I'm going to show my 5 favorite pictures that I've taken so far, and I'm going to share a quote that I've picked for each picture. I took this picture because I think pictures of the constellation is very pretty, and it's like very different and artistic. And the quote I chose for this picture is, "Shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars," Brian L. My second picture is of a horse. I really like this picture because the day we went to go took this picture, the horse walked straight up to us and let us pet him and let us take his picture. It was really nice. It's a cute horse. My quote for this is, "Sometimes you gotta run wild and free." My third picture is of Lele. This is my cousin's baby. I took this picture because she's so adorable. She's like the cutest curly head Moana singer ever. And for this one, I picked the definition of baby. It's a noun, a little bit of heaven sent down to earth. My fourth picture is of my friend from school, because I really like school. And I took this picture because she likes to model around and have fun. She's really good company. Don't have a quote for this picture because, yeah. My fifth picture is of my teachers because they helped me with this entire project. And my quote for this is, "The best teachers are the ones who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see." Thank you. The next one is Queenie.
Give me a moment. Aloha, my name is Queenie Marcelino, and the pictures I'm about to show you is the one I really like the most. This is my niece. Her name is Johnny Le. Everyone calls her Lele. And the smile she has, it just fills my whole heart. And without her, I don't think that I will be the best auntie that I could be. And she teaches me things that a mother should know. And for that, she is pushing me to be a better mother in the future. And I thank her for it. This picture is of our pig from Pu'uhonua, Waimanalo, and his name is Pumbaa. The reason why I like this picture of this pig is because for an hour and a half, I had to chase this pig around our village. And the #1 rule that we have is once you name an animal, it becomes your pet. The thought of Kalua pig coming to my mind, this pig does not belong in that category. the speaker before me, her name was Soraya, and I took this picture because we may have our ups and downs, but for me, she's a little sister and she's a pain in the butt. But she also teaches me patience and compassion. And without her, I wouldn't have most of those things. This picture, besides me in it, the two guys standing on my left and my right, the one with his hands in the air, his name is Nainoa, and he's my number one cheerleader. Believe that. No matter what, he can do a cheer and put a smile on your face. And then he'll just crack up laughing, knowing that even though he did mess up, it's just for fun. The guy on my left-hand side, on that side, his name is Twinkle Borge. And he got me through some rough patches of my life. And I also helped him too. And without these two boys, I don't think I would have so much life in me without them. This picture, the lady in the red is my mom. Her name is Twinkle Borge. And the gentleman on her side is Chris Akana. He's from Waimanalo High School. And not too much people will let you use their car for like a whole week without wanting it back. This guy let my mom use his car for go do her appointments, for do the things that she needs to do to better our future. And he didn't have no questions, nothing for her. It's, here you go, don't worry. And for me, that's like a father. And I love him and her. This picture, I took this picture at a football game, the Rainbow Warriors football game. And I took the picture of the kid because at the moment I was kind of hungry, so I took the picture of the kid eating the hot dog, and it was a nice one. And I always tell my family, oh, that's my mood. Yeah, I don't know. That little kid reminds me of myself because I rather eat than, talk story and stuff like that. Food is the way to my heart. And up next, we have Nainoa Brown Kahananui.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nainoa Brown Kahananui, and this is the photos I took, but also it's the portraits of my loved ones. So first up, this is Marcus, Queenie's younger brother. So the reason why I chose this photo is because he may not be in the village, but he is like a little brother to me. Like, he irritates me and everything. And I also like how he and the tree is in focus and not mainly in the back. Second photo is he's right there. So I took this photo is because he was playing with the ball and I wanted to catch the ball in midair, and I caught it at the right moment, and then his face is priceless. This is like my second mother, Twinkle Borge. So the way I wanted to catch this photo is to catch her off guard. And when I took it, I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, that is beautiful. Just her smile and everything. Fourth one is Uncle Vakele. So I chose this photo because he also helps out my mama's or mother, Twinkle Borge, with everything she needs. And it's just, I like the photo. This is Lele, that you've seen before. So I took it because her smile, and then in her eyes, it looks like the eyes are twinkling, and it looks like really cute. And then in this photo, it kind of represents what Mama is in our village. She's our protector and guardian to all the kids and the people in the village. So, thank you, Mamas. And my last photo is Queenie. Yeah, so I like this photo because she's like smiling and everything. And because she's like a big sister to me. She irritates me and yells at me because out of love and everything. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys so much for allowing, Thank you so much for allowing us to be here and for looking through the eyes of the youth. And they're all really special kids, and we're always so proud of them. And Auntie, you should be, I know you're always proud of them, but they're gonna go and take over the world one day, and I should change the slide. And so they're gonna be having a gallery show in December at Arts at Mark's Garage, and they're working towards that. So these projects are part of that. So if you'd like to donate money or camera equipment so that we can fund the gallery show, that would go towards printing paper and frames, installation materials, camera equipment, like cameras, tripods, lighting equipment, and lenses, since we're also going to be doing, we're going to be making movies next year. Memory cards and hard drives, laptops for the kids to edit on, basic classroom supplies, and travel expenses, and that sort of thing.
So we just want to thank everybody for coming and for your support and giving the kids a platform to share their really important stories. So if we could give our students another round of applause.
If we could also bring the kids up here one last time, so we can give them one more round of applause because they're so talented. And bow. I don't know, bow, I guess. Thank you guys for, okay.
So thank you so much, Wolf and Women Youth Arts Program, for really opening up this program in the most beautiful and meaningful way. We are now going to transition into our panel, and I'd like to introduce James Koshiba, who is a community builder, volunteer at Aloha, and was integral in bringing the speakers together for this panel. We could not have done this without him. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to James Koshiba.
Aloha. Maybe first a word to explain sort of what Huiloha is. As Taylor said, I'm a volunteer and one of the co-organizers of Huiloha, and what we are is essentially a group of people, all volunteers, that came together starting about a year ago, actually, because the thing we had in common was we were all worried about the decline of aloha in our community. And we wanted to figure out together what we could do to live more aloha in our own lives and to be sure that it had a vibrant life in our islands. One area where that seemed like a good place to start was with the houseless members of our community, because that was a place where it seemed apparent to us that aloha was lacking, actually, and our community could use a little more aloha in dealing with those issues. So we started by doing what could be generously described as outreach. And when I say outreach, we had no program, we had no services to offer. We would take coffee travelers and either a box of malasadas or Spanish rolls, and we would go out to different encampments and we'd just go tent to tent and offer people hot coffee and a pastry and the chance to talk story. And over the last year plus, we've built relationships this way with folks in town, in encampments in town, ranging from Kaka to Old Stadium Park and other areas in urban Honolulu, but also in Waianae with Pu'onua O Wai and Waimanalo at Waimanalo Beach Park. And we even started to branch a little bit beyond Oahu and build relationships with folks on the neighbor islands as well. But again, the point is not to offer a service or program, but just connect with people person to person, human being to human being. And through that process, I got to meet some really remarkable folks, including the 3 people who I'm privileged to share the stage with today. So I'd like to call up and introduce you all to our 3 panelists who I'm gonna help moderate. First, Twinkle Borge, Auntie Twinkle Borge from Pu'onua O Wai. Auntie Rosalind Sargent. One of the leaders and a key community builder at Waimanalo Beach Park. And Uncle John, Kaulupali, community builder and leader from Kaka. Before we begin, let me just say that that was a really tough act to follow, so we got our work cut out for us. I also want to recognize the people here today who are from Pu'onua O Wai, from Waimanalo Beach Park, and from Kaka. There are friends in the audience who have come today to be part of this gathering, and really appreciate you guys taking the time and surmounting the challenge of transportation and sometimes leaving your things in the park to be with us here today. The second person I really want to call out, person and organization I'd like to thank is Taylor Chang and the Doris Duke Theater. I said this to Taylor earlier, but I really give her and the theater a lot of props for putting on this event. It's the first time in my knowledge that houseless leaders have had a forum and have been sort of in a position to share their story and perspective about an issue that is on the top of mind of so many of us. So really grateful that Taylor took up that challenge and created this space for us today. Mahalo, Taylor. So I think we're just gonna jump right into it. And I told you guys I was gonna start by asking you to say a little bit about yourselves personally to start out with. And I'm gonna ask Twinkle if you'll take this one first. But the question for all of you is really, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what school you went, and some of the places that you've worked in your life.
Okay. Aloha, my name is Twinkle Aloha Lani Borge. I'm leader of Pu'onua. I went to high school at Kamiki, born and raised in Palolo, graduated in '86. I've also worked for TJ Mahoney's as a security and head secretary for Big Brothers and Sisters Foundation.
Oh.
Aloha, I'm Rosalind Sargent. I'm born and raised in Papakalea, moved to Waimanalo in '69. Graduated from Roosevelt High School in '78 and lived in the mainland in Houston for 2.5 years. Worked at Alert Alarm Protect Services here in Mapunapuna and Waimanalo, Mel's Market, and Bobby's.
And you told me something just a couple days ago about your family I didn't know before.
My grandmother is General Calvi. Yeah.
And Uncle John.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Kaulupali. I am from Waihawa, born and raised. I graduated from Leleho High School in 1976. I am the second of 5 children. My life growing up, it wasn't pretty, but it is what it is. And based on where everything is at right today, as far as the community is, that I felt that I needed to do something positive to wake up the people that's ignoring people like us, because we have to be heard. I mean, a lot of things that goes on out there in the world, it's just what it is.
And I think that's why we're all here. I think this is it's a great opportunity for you guys to share some things that most people don't realize about what it's like to be houseless and what it's like to deal with some of the systems and processes that we have. Before we move on to the next question, though, Uncle John, where are some places you've worked over the years?
I was not a hands-on kind of person. I worked with landscape companies, maintenance companies, and I worked on a golf course. And the reason why I went there was I took up the sport. Here I was telling everyone that you'll never catch me chasing a white ball down the field. But here I was 30 years later, I'm still doing it. But today my means today is to focus on what's going on today. So.
I didn't know you play golf. Yeah, learning stuff about you right now. So most of the questions I think I'm going to start with are questions that I get asked when people learn that I do work with or have relationships with houseless folks. And so I guess the first one is, there's a perception many people have that people that are houseless are there because they're addicts, they don't want to work, and or they have a mental illness. And so I was going to ask each of you to share a little bit about your response to that, and if there's truth to that, some examples of the truth, but also I know from being with you and in your communities that there's also people that don't fall into that stereotype. And so if you can share a little bit about each of those. And I'm going to start with Twinkle again.
That's a good one. Sorry, you guys. Well, in our area, we do have a lot of addicts, but also we do have a lot of people with depression. Depression is real nowadays. It's not just about being an addict or about mental illness. To address them, they have no solution for even to how to go about. I think the answer comes from people like us who know what it's like, where it's like, and how to deal with it.
One of the things that you shared with me recently about the village is that, you guys are now at about coming up close to 300 people again. And at one time, probably the majority of people in the village had a substance abuse challenge. But now you said it's much less than that. It's
maybe about 3 to 5 years ago, in our village, there was 99% of us that was using. You had choices that you had to pick. Yeah, not because you wanted to pick, you had to pick. Either you're gonna go get yourself help, program, or cultural, or let's figure something out. Right now, I want to say maybe we have about 5% that is still using, that I'm not giving up on, not writing them off. There is ways and angles to get to people. You gotta reach the heart before anything. So for me, I don't give up.
Yeah, I want to come back to that later because, the process of healing that people have gone through to go from, vast majority of people using in the village to being mostly clean and sober down to 5%, I think is something we can learn from. But I also wanted to hear from Auntie Roz and Uncle John about, the stereotype, right? That, hey, addicts, too lazy to work, and mental illness.
Well, in Waimanalo, we have people that are not addicts. They don't do drugs at all, and they do go to work. We also have people that are addicts. They have mental problems. We just had a young man that twice last month tried to hang himself. And our problem is that we don't have resources to send them, where to send them for help. He went to the hospital. They released him the first time the same night. The second time they kept him overnight, and this was like a week to the day that he did it twice. And Second time they released him, and all they gave him was a crisis number to call. You know, and I'm like, what is that going to do? You need somebody to call, you know, from now till you hit that crisis, you know. But they don't have help like that. So that's what we're looking for, is that kind of help, because we do need it. I think no matter where you go, there's going to be drugs and mental issues. But we're just starting now with our community board members, and they have a subcommittee that was formed just to help us in Waimanalo. So we're just starting to form a workmen's, you know, working with them, and so we're hoping for resources soon.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, and I've heard this from Twinkle too, and from spending time in the village, that especially, you know, people that have mental emotional challenges, that's where the outside resources would really help, and sometimes you need it because it's not something that you can solve on your own. Yeah. How about you, Uncle John? You know, just knowing what the stereotype is of houseless people, what's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, our community, I am the chosen leader of Kaka, and you know, the problems we have out there is drugs, alcohol, but not all of them do this. You know, I went into a program and a lot of things happened. You know, volunteering, doing this and doing that. You know, but the community itself, they need structure. They do need this structure, and they do need to be aware of everything, not just what's going on in their tent, but what's going on around the community as well, because that's what they're hurting right now, as I know of it, and that we need to get that part of it done.
You also shared earlier, though, you were sharing with me earlier about what it was like for you when you were in a tent in Kakako, and you were there for many years, but you were working and having to go to work and then come back to your tent. Can you tell us a little bit about what those challenges?
You know, my challenge was finding that job. Yeah, and I always had to work. I got my job, but I was here out on the street, and you know, I lived two lives. One being homeless or houseless, and the other was going to work. My activities outside my home is my job, and my job played a big role in my life. In order for me to survive out there on the street, I needed a job. But you know, while I'm at work, the problem I face is that when they come and do a sweep, my things are gone. Twice this past year, I lost all of my clothes. And these clothes I'm talking about are the same clothes that I go to work with. I need it. And if I didn't have it, I was forced to go and get new clothes. And you know how hard it is to go from having a week's supply of work clothes, come home one day and there's nothing. You know, and what am I going to do now? But the good part about it was the community around me had played a big part in helping me retain some of the clothes that I lost, so that I can continue going to work.
And when you say the community around you mean people that were living in the camp around you?
Yes. Those people are my family.
Yeah.
The community is my second family, away from my immediate family. And that my time with the community, I try to build a life around and to give them someone that they can talk to or at least play music. I'm an entertainer by choice, and I do this, you know, with heart. I just love to sing, and I just love to put smiles on people's faces.
I mean, that reminds me a lot, like, you know, even when we were looking at the pictures from Puhonua Waianae, you could feel the sense of connection and ohana, and all the pictures were of other people in the village, you know, and of other kids, and that exists not just in the village, but also in other camps where people have become extended family to each other and look after each other.
Yeah.
Twinkle, it looked like you were going to add something to that.
Yeah. The only thing I couldn't understand, I understand about the addiction and everything, and how they have these agencies out there who gets the grants and whatnot to come out and help the people. One thing about helping, another thing is about building relationship. Even like getting someone help, you gotta go back out to use in order to come into a program that don't even make sense for me. So for me, it's like grassroots. Yeah, if someone need help, we go and we help, because that's in our DNA to help. That's our kuleana sense. And when I hear and I witness people sharing about how there's no agencies out there to help, I think they need people like us to be there to help them make decisions that does not come from books for me. It comes straight from boots on ground,
I want to come back in a second to this issue about agencies and programs, and maybe some of the challenges that a lot of people don't realize exist with those agencies and programs. But before we jump to that, just wanted to ask you guys, Uncle John shared his story, and he's an example of someone that does not fit the stereotype, right? He was working, he was living in a stand. Are there other people, I know there are people in both your villages, in your communities, in your camps, that also defy that stereotype? Can you just share a couple of quick examples for us?
In other words, I don't like when they come down and say, I need to go to a shelter, because there's no shelters in Waimanalo. My community is in Waimanalo, my family is in Waimanalo, my grandchildren go to school in Waimanalo, I volunteer at the schools a lot for them. My church is in Waimanalo, my doctor is, everything for me is in my community of Waimanalo. And so for me, that's where I want to stay. And our neighborhood board had formed a subcommittee that is made just for homeless people and to help us. So what they did was on August 2nd, we were supposed to have been swept off the highway. We met, thanks to James and Aloha. We met with the subcommittee a week before, in fact, the week of, and they decided, through, I think, Alani's suggestion, to write a letter to the governor and the city, the mayor's office, asking them to postpone that sweep so that they could give the committee time to find a place in Waimanalo to take our houseless people and move them off the beaches. And we were granted that postponement. So now it's like they're trying, we're working with them, we're just starting to build a foundation in Waimanalo, so it's really new for us, but we have positive stuff coming back already. Just this past week, someone from the canoe club approached me and said they have land that has electrical wiring already. It has water, running water, and they're just waiting on the governor to give the okay that they can use that land to house us there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive stuff happening, and I want to come back to that too. But you mentioned something as you were sharing just now about shelters, and in your case, the reason why you prefer not to go to a shelter is because your whole community and your community connections, you said your church, your family, your grandkids' school is all in Waimanalo, and the shelters are all
in
San Island, in town.
We have none
right?
in Waimanalo.
So that's that reminds me that another question I get asked a lot is, why these people don't go to a shelter after a sweep? We read in the paper the sweep is coming. There's always outreach workers out there offering shelter. Why don't they just go to a shelter? And you just gave an example of why not. But I wanted to come back to Uncle John for a second, and if you can share a little bit with us about why don't people go?
Why people don't go to the shelters? Well, think about it. People on the mainland, they go through storms, tornado alley. And these people, their homes get ripped apart, their lives get ripped apart, and yet they continue to build on the same property. So why don't they move, or why don't they go to a shelter? Same thing here. It's some people just cannot deal with the shelters. The shelters, sometimes I felt like I was being set up for fail. in the shelter. The shelter is not for everyone. For many reasons. One of them is not living by rules. Here in Hawaii or anywhere else in the world that you go to, there are rules that need to be upheld, and these rules are just to keep structure within. In our own lives, we have to build structure, and building that, it's not an easy thing, but it's something that we learned as we grew up. This is all from the heart, from the families that we lived with all our lives. And today, where is that aloha that some of us use? Okay, aloha plays a big part in our society, in our everyday lives.
You also mentioned to me earlier that, because you've been through several shelters in your time being houseless, and that there were some things about the shelter that surprised you, that when you got there and you stayed there for a little while, you were not expecting and not told about. Can you share some of that?
Well, like I said, the shelters aren't for everyone, and I was one of those people that didn't want to go to a shelter. I first went homeless or houseless back in '98. It wasn't until 2003 that I actually went into a shelter. And going into that shelter was boring. There was no structure. There was no place to go as far as what I'm trying to do to get myself back into the society or into a home. Other things that came up was keeping an eye on your property. How can you go to work and come back home or come back to where you're at and having everything there? It's not feasible. It's not working.
You're saying things were taken from you when you were in the shelter?
Well, in the shelter, yeah. In fact, the last shelter I've been in, I've lost so much things. I have lost more things than I had lost in the 10 years I've been out there. And that's sad, Our society, the people themselves, the homeless is stealing from the homeless. I mean, there's an issue. But having structure, and a lot of people out there on the streets, they have none. They have no structure. They just run out wild.
But part of what I heard you say was that, and this was sort of shocking to me, was that you had more things taken from you when you were in the shelter than when you were out on the street.
Yes, and like I said, how is that possible? When they tell you that the icebox, the fridge is for their clients, and that you go out to the store and buy things and you put it into the refrigerator, which they tell you to label it, put your name on it, and it'll be okay. I did that. An hour later, it disappeared. 4 items. 3 of that 4 items disappeared in less than an hour. I say less than an hour because I went back an hour later to grab something, and that's when I realized these things just disappeared just like nothing. So.
And how is it that when you're on the street, you think were you able to keep your things safe?
On the street, I depend a lot on my friends, the people that I live around, and their support to me was great because I go off to work and I had to be at work. It was very important for me to be there, but it was also important for me to be mindful of all my things. I couldn't just leave it, and a lot of times I had to pack up, put it away, and then go to work. But that's a big headache on my part because I have to get up that much earlier just to get all those things done before I leave.
I guess that's another thing that is kind of surprising to a lot of people is in shelter, when you go into a shelter, you leave your friends and relationships behind, and you're in a new place, and you don't have those friends and relationships, and so it can be harder to feel safe in that environment. Yeah, Roz.
Going into a shelter, you kind of expect to have like something in there where they get your job ready. You know, they prepare you for when you get a place. You know, they get your job ready. They tell you have case managers and case workers to help you get through things. But it didn't work that way for like my boyfriend. If you leave the shelter and you don't come back, you're exited out. Well, he left the shelter.
Sorry, to clarify, and there's like a 3-day limit, right? If you're out for more than 3 days and you cannot come back in. Yeah.
Or if you even leave for the day and you don't go back that night and don't call them, you get...
Got it.
Whatever. But he left to go he went to the hospital and he was diagnosed with cancer. And so he hasn't been back to the shelter. He's now in a care home in Kalihi. But they're supposed to still have a caseworker and a case manager for him. And last night I just lost it on the lady from hospice because they keep asking me about his medical. How do I get this and how do they get that? And I'm like, that's your guys' job. You guys took him in there on the pretense that he had a caseworker, he had a case manager, and since he's been in the hospital, I've never once heard from the case manager or caseworker. So it's like, if they're going to tell you things like that and you're going to go in there expecting this, then they really should live up to it because they haven't been. I mean, it might not be the same for everyone else. Maybe it's, it could be just in his case, it's like this, but if you're going to come out as an outreach person and drag people back with you to the shelters, then you need to tell them what to expect because most of them don't know that when you get there, you gotta put $100 down for rent and that they're going to make you make an account so that they know for sure that you have money saved for when you do get a place. People are not aware of that until they get there. And when they get there, it's kind of like, okay, why didn't they tell us before we came here? It's like kind of shocking, but like I said, the shelters are good for some people and it's just not for others. It's like how you make it, I guess.
Yeah, and you shared something with me too when we were getting ready for the panel about that example of, they make you set up a bank account. It's a requirement of being in the program that you set up a bank account and save and have so much money in your savings. First, I think that just the paying rent is a shock to people. Even people like me, if you're not familiar with the shelter system, you don't realize that people are required to pay rent to be there every month. But you also said that the savings account can be a problem for people because in order to qualify for like your food stamps, for example, or other forms of public assistance, you cannot have savings. And so by creating a savings, it can disqualify you from other things.
They allow you a certain amount. Mm-hmm. It depends on how much you get. Yeah, they allow you a certain amount, but there's also people that go in there with no income. And that's one thing that the shelters do help though. If you go in without income, right away they set you up with DHS to get benefits. Yeah.
Well, I know for us, about 2-3 years ago, I had a family about 100 that came to us, and they stayed with the shelter for about 2 years. And after that 2 years was up, the shelter had made them immediately vacate the premises and told them that if they come back next month, wait 30 days, you come back next month, we can get you in. To me, that's bullshit. For one, you should have been helping them secure one job. 2, getting them job success ready. 3, helping them build a resume besides one bank account and help them fill in all the shoes that need to be filled in. You just want to kick out 100 people out of the shelter. No, you only can stay in the shelter 90 days.
Yeah.
You're just getting them more ready to go out there and hoorah, even harder. So there really is no solution. Out of that 100 people that stayed with us, right now I have only 10. The rest we have helped get into homes. We have helped them get secured permanent jobs and something that agencies should have been doing, and they're not even the shelters.
Yeah, and at that time, I think, the story you just told illustrates something that was happening in the system, which is that they started to shorten the time limits, yeah? So at that time, people could stay a couple of years, but probably right when they discharged everybody from that shelter, the 100 people that came to you and the village, they were shortening the time limits. So now it's 90 days, and today the average length of stay in a shelter is just over 60 days, I think.
But they take you into the shelter saying that they're going to put you into housing, so I don't understand how they kept that family there for 2 years and never got them into housing. That's really...
Not even landed for a job. Not even landed for a job.
Well, and that's something.
These people in our village, they actually show a lot of more aloha than locals I've ever met. You know, there was one family that stepped up in areas that needed help in, and they're my Micronesian families. You know, and for me, it was awesome. Even though all what they was going through, they were still going through it. To finally help them get into homes and jobs was awesome. Just to see one smile on their face.
Respect and help each other.
Well, and I think you guys, sorry, I'll let you jump in a second, John, but I think one of the things I hear in what you guys are saying is that having people support each other with a real sense of caring about each other is what has gotten you through times. It's what has helped build people up in your communities, but that's something that's really hard to find in a shelter or a program or another kind of institutional setting. Yeah, John, you're going to add something to that?
You know, here in Kaka, because we face so much animosity with neighbors, meaning the businesses, with the sweeps, and with the government as well. The police, for instance. During the sweeps, after, they tell us not to go back to Kakako. Okay, so now everybody moved up a few blocks up the road. They invaded another park, and I was one of them. But still, when we're there, slowly but surely everybody's moving back down to Kakako. And then the police turned around and comes back, who chased us out of Kakako. They're telling us to go back to Kakako because they're not sweeping. They're not doing nothing down there. But it's a conflict of interest because they tell us not to go there, and then you see most of them go back there, and the ones who didn't go, they just went listen to the law. Listen to them telling us don't go back. So when we didn't go back, now we became a problem in someone else's district. The problem there is with the police. The police is just chasing you out of their district, out of their area. And it's the police that's playing this cat and mouse game, back and forth. This is something that's wrong on the city part. This is something wrong in this homeless or houseless situation that we're facing. I cannot believe 20 years down the road, they still have no solution. I have one.
Well, can we hold off on that? Because I want to come to the solutions. So when we get to, I want each of you to actually talk about the solutions and the stuff that you're working on. But I want to pick up on something you said earlier, Uncle John. Two things, actually. One is that, this was a shock to me, too. In the summer of 2015, when I spent time in the Kakako homeless camp, I was surprised to hear from people in the camp, which was huge at that time. I think you were there at that time. It was like 400 people. That everyone there had been told to go to Kakako when sweeps were happening in other parts of the island, right? And that's why that camp got so huge. I didn't realize that, but so that was one. Just the being told where to go, and then you show up there, and then you're swept out of there. A little while later. But I wanted to ask a little bit about the sweeps themselves, because this is another thing I think that people don't have a lot of understanding of what a sweep is like and how it affects people's lives when it happens. So can you share a little bit about that? And maybe I'll start back up with you, Uncle John, just about what a sweep is like, and especially since in urban Honolulu it happens most often or more often than other parts of the island.
A sweep is like a neighbor, when they're having a big party and the loud noise that comes with it. You don't want that next door to you. But the sweep does the same thing. They come into your home, they create all kind of ruckus, and they start moving people out of that area and giving them only 15, 20 minutes to pack up their things and leave. But where are they going? Where are these people going? They ain't only going to go further up the road or further down the road. But then when they started sweeping Waikiki and Ala Moana Park, where are those people going? They don't want, those people came down to Kaka'ako. And now Kaka'ako is being faced to be moved again. They get pushed up to Mother Water. And this sweeping is not working.
What's it been like for you, though? I mean, what has happened to you during a sweep?
Well, most of these sweeps that came, I was not there, only because I was working. But the ones that I did see, it was horrible. Watching these guys manhandle your personal items, your for the little things that we do have. Why take it? Why take it? Why trash it? Why doing what they're doing with it? I thought the city was supposed to handle these items like it was their own. That's the way I looked at it. But watching them do it, it's a different story. You got these guys, big arms, and they're mad that they have to do that, but they have to come out and do what they have to do. But they don't have to do it that way. They do not have the right to destroy any items that you might have, as little as it may be. The little items that I have, I treasure. Why create a problem for somebody like myself and expect that person to find its way out of it and get back into society? It's wrong. It's not going to happen that way. It's hard.
How about for you, Roz?
So, like, when they first started coming to do our the sweeps in Waimanalo, it was like we would still have our tents up, so we would get ticketed for illegal camping. And then when they kept coming and coming, we would actually get our things out of the park and across the street, because what they would do is what they're supposed to do is log everything that they take from you and store it. They're supposed to do that, but they just take your stuff and they throw it in the dump truck, the rubbish trucks right there. So a lot of times people would be not concentrating on their ticket and not go to court because they're trying to figure out how they're going to get their stuff back, how they're going to get new tents, how they're going to get this and how they're going to get that, because it doesn't fall from the sky. And it's like every time they come, they take everything you got, So it's like people struggle to get their stuff back. So what we started doing was, because we all have warrants now for illegal camping, we didn't go to the court for that ticket. So when they come, we'd move our stuff across the street before they get there, and then we'd scatter all over the streets in Waimanalo. And then we'd get tickets because we're loitering or we're trespassing and we're just where we're not supposed to be. So the sweeps are like, it's a pain in the butt. It's like they really don't need to do that as much as they do. They don't need to be taking our things the way that they do. And people got children that got to go to school the next morning because they come at 2:30 in the morning and they leave by 4:30. They get out of there before the community starts getting up and going to work because they don't want to be seen doing what they're doing. So the sweeps are just, I think, a lot of it is harassment on the part of the police department, because really they have no jurisdiction in the park unless they're called by the city Parks and Recreation. And they run the whole sweep, if you ask me. You watch what they do when they come, it's terrible. It's terrible, but what we've learned we know there's a sweep coming because thanks to ACLU, there's a app that you can check if the sweep is coming, so we know that it's coming and we try to move all our stuff out before they get there. But then there's always people that's not there and their stuff is there, so we try to get to their stuff and get it out. And a lot of the times the cops, it depends on who's there, they'll just leave you alone to get it out. Some of them will just harass you and tell you, you can't move it. You just we're taking it already. So it's hard to deal with them, but we've learned how to deal with them. It's just get your stuff out before they get there. Get out of their way.
I want to add a little bit more to that. In Kaka'ako, one night, they came like 10:30 10:30 at night, and caught everybody by surprise. And they gave you 10 minutes to pack your things up and get out of the park. 10 minutes. We got a stage full of things, and you expect us to get it out without the help of a shopping wagon or some kind of apparatus that you need to move your stuff. Yeah? And then when you leave the area with a whole bunch of stuff, you're going out the gate. As soon as you get that out the gate, you come back in, they turn around and tell you you cannot go back in. And that's just one wagon. And you get like 4 or 5 other wagons that you need to bring out.
They'll also tell you that you should only have enough stuff to carry in a backpack. You shouldn't have more than that. You should have a tent that you can carry in your arms and get out, and just your stuff in your backpack. Well, how are you supposed to eat? Because I need one stove. I need coolers to keep my food cold. They don't get it. And they think that we're just bumming, living on the beach. It's harder to live on the beach. You need butane all the time to use your stove. You need ice all the time to keep your food cold. And it's not easy on the beach. You shop day by day. You cannot go buy your meats and go put them in one freezer, because there is no freezer. So living day by day on the beach is harder, and they tell you that all you're supposed to have is a backpack full of stuff. That's BS. Live like that.
Twinkle, I know the village was threatened with a sweep earlier this year, and it hasn't been swept for many years. But can you share a little bit about what that was like when that threat was announced?
That year one was facing that they was claiming that was going to get sweep and everything. And my first concern was about my kupunas and my kids, like where they're going to go. I really didn't care about myself, but I did care about my kids. We finally got their foot settled, solid, got them going to school, and now you're going to come in and disrupt their whole lives. A lot of the kids that do live in the village, most of them do live with me, was never in their parents' plans when the parents left, so I took Julian over the kids. But what's going to happen to the people? So when that sweep, when they did mention that we was going to have a sweep, it brought up anxieties for me. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I kept worrying about my kids. That finally, when everything was over, I still never know how to sleep because I was still worried. I worry about my kids, I worry about my animals, worry about my kupunas, what's going to happen with them, trying to think of how I can pull resources or cars to come, try and see if I can find one location to take people to. And then my last result was just, heck, we won't fight. I hope they're ready for this fight because we're going to fight. The only ones that I was going to remove out of the village was my kids. That's something I'm not trying to let my kids see or try to have them be a part of, because I think that would just be my coward way out of using the kids. So I did have places for the kids to go while we was going to stay behind and fight for our place. We are still working with the governor. He had caught up the sweep and everything. There is a vision, and hopefully by God's grace we get there. We can paupa this and help other people in the community, and not just about uhonua.
That's a good segue. The next question I was gonna ask you guys is, what are the things that you're working on now that gives you hope for the future? And maybe that's a good start. But if you want to add anything more to that, and then we'll go down.
For me, I don't look at this as a job. I look at this as something I love. I love working with people. I've always been that way, even from when I was growing up. And, I always have this one person that he always tell me he's nobody, but he's actually somebody. He's actually someone that actually saved me. We always knew each other. We met under one street light. We started talking. He became like a pervert. He would always follow us around, but good kind of pervert, But this one guy, he really saved me. He was that one voice. When he said he nobody, actually that nobody is he always get heard, which is James Pakele. And I always tell my leaders and the people in the village, malama ike kai, to take care of each other. And that's how we're supposed to be. I don't know where it got messed up along down the line, but that is in all our DNAs, to help our own people, to help everyone. To see Aloha out of the state, I don't think it's out of the people. I just think it's out of the state. We got to make that noise up in the Capitol to let them know that we exist, that we're still alive, and that we're still here. And I think we are the ones that got to be the textbooks to them. They read everything from books and whatnot, but we live it daily. We go through it daily. And I believe we can be the answer.
And I've seen you guys be the answer already, not just for yourselves, but for other communities too. And what's been really inspiring to me, and one of the things I learned from you, is about how you went about building your community. You said, and I've heard you give this talk to other people too, other houseless people, when you go out to serve them. You say, hey, be solid in yourselves first. It's all about relationships first, community first. Build your community in your camp. Take kuleana for your area. Take care of your park. Take care of the bathroom over here. Then reach out to the people in the houses and the businesses around and start to connect with them and make your community even wider. And then at that point, you can go to your neighborhood board or your city council or your state representative and say, hey, look, we're standing together as a community, not just the houseless folks, but houseless and housed. And we're working on solutions. We're working to address the problems ourselves. And I've seen that happen and be inspirational to other folks too, including Waimanalo and Kaka. But Auntie Roz, can you share a little bit about what you guys have been working on that gives you hope?
So in Waimanalo, we've been taking over the park, cleaning, taking care of the responsibility of cleaning the park, making sure that the bathrooms are always clean. It's always got change bags. It's got toilet tissue because it's always running out of toilet tissue over there. We have the muliwai. We're starting to clean up around and just keep the muliwai clean. And across of that, the kids at Pope School, they are trying to revive the naupaka and bring back old Hawaiian plants that were growing there. So we go down there and we malama the land where they're working and try to keep it clean, and so that when the kids come, they don't have to go pull out all the weeds and go cut grass, and they can just plant and whatever they're growing. And Waimanalo is the best place. I would never want to be homeless anywhere else because we have so much resources. We are so lucky to live in Waimanalo. I'd like to introduce two people out there who are a big part of resources in Waimanalo. That's Craig and Danica. They, can you guys stand up? They brought Laundry Love to Waimanalo. And Laundry Love is everyone in Waimanalo that's houseless, even the people that live in homes. We can take our laundry every month to the washerette, and we are allowed 3 big bags each person, and we take it to the washerette, and Laundry Love, which they formed and started in Waimanalo, they'll pay for our laundry every month. They do this. This Saturday was our 3rd year, and right now they're working on bringing mobile hot showers to the beach. Hopefully we'll get it in a couple of weeks, yeah? God willing, we'll get it. And that's what Waimanalo is about. We're just trying to, we're new, we're young, and we're just trying to build up. So we hope to get where Twinkles is soon.
I've been inspired by the work you guys have already done though, and not just your camp, but the camp in collaboration with your neighborhood board, which I thought was sort of mind-blowing that your neighborhood board stood up and said, please don't sweep our people. They're part of our community, and let us work on a solution by Waimanalo for Waimanalo.
And we meet monthly with them every month. They come down to the park and meet with us. So, yeah.
For me, in Kakako, being a new just leader out in Kakako, and we have a bigger challenge. We have the entire Honolulu side of the island, and I cannot just speak for myself or for just the guys at Kakako. I have to look out for the one that's way out at the Stadium Park or even in Hawaii Kai. This forum here is based around all the homeless or houseless people in the state, and that Queenie had just gotten this going for her, and it's a great thing, and this is something that I'm building on. Kakako is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful beach. I'm just going to have a harder time trying to get things situated and getting the support that I need to get it off the ground like how Waimanalo and Waianai did.
We gotta get you someone that names Nobody.
Yeah, I need a nobody in Waimanalo, please.
Well, I mean, that's, you say that jokingly, but I mean, there's truth in that too. I mean, you guys have both found partners in your community. Nobody, James Pakele, is from Waianai.
Yes.
And he has partnered with you guys to make this happen. And now you develop a relationship with your neighborhood board, and Kukana, Kamatoth, is kind of becoming, your partner in that. And that also seems like one thing that would be useful for you as you're looking for that partner, looking for those relationships. But the other thing you pointed out is, the thing that's different about urban Honolulu is all eyes are on you, right? There's nothing out of sight, out of mind about you guys and where you are. And there's a lot of money, there's a lot of development, there's a lot of other stuff happening around you that gives people the incentive to call and say, can we get these guys out of here?
I wanted to do this thing some years ago, but never had that drive or that resource to do so, or the help. And the gentleman that you saw on the screen earlier, when they were picturing Waianai, Waimanalo, and Kaka, it was the Kaka vision on the screen, and the gentleman that was speaking. He is not here with us today, but he is down in Kakako looking out for everyone's interest. He too decided to start this drive, and he got the hui out here, and they came down and spoke with him. And when he brought it to my attention, I said, I've been looking for this for a long time. And now that we have it, it gives us hope. It gives us a drive to do what we need to do, not just for our community, but for the surrounding communities, the businesses around. We need to work together. Our voices are being heard finally. And, we hope that the community outside of our circle hears our words and hears our plea, and that they would come out hopefully to share some of their mana'o to us, and that we can do the same as well. But to get something going and just going about your sweeps or your thing, it hasn't been working for the last 20 years. So why don't we change something up here and do something about it and work with each other instead of trying to fight each other?
Because they need people like us sit in that meeting. That's the only way I think we can change things is people like us got to be able to sit down in that meeting, because now people like us is ready to stand up and voice out. We always had that voice. We just never knew when to use it until I met Nobody.
That was going to be my next question, actually, is, since you do have this platform now, and you have the opportunity to talk to people in decision-making positions, policymakers, politicians, what is something that you would ask them to do differently?
For me, I hope they would invite us to the table. Even when making the plans or the decisions, we should be able to sit at that table to make the decisions with them. They have no idea what it's like, so I sure hope they little bit, or hope they come by like that to ask us to be there. I have no problem sharing if it'll better our people or everyone else. Maybe I might learn something from you also.
Or why don't they come spend a weekend at the beach or something and really know what it's like to live there?
Actually, I wanted to challenge the council members. Last month when we went down to Kapolei to oppose Bill 51 and 52, meaning that they wanted to put that into law, which is that sit and lie law. Okay, they just amended it, they just got it into law. Now, when we ended to oppose this, it's when all these questions comes out, or your mind starts thinking things, and all of a sudden you're coming up with ideas in your head. Why don't these people who get pay the money they get paid and put that into something that can make this homeless situation disappear. I don't think it's going to disappear altogether. I mean, you got people living under bridges, you got people living along the river, you know, and now they want to push you into the mountains. They want you out of sight, out of mind. What good is that going to do? You know, these people who goes out of sight, out of mind has to come out somewhere, sometime. You know, how are they to get their essentials or their supplies? They have to come out. You know, how they're doing it. Hey, we all work. I work. You know, and a lot of these people do work. You know, but you gotta come out and talk with them. You guys gotta get out of your high chair, come down to our level, and at least show some mana'o, show some, you know, just share some of your knowledge with us, or come up with some kind of solution.
Yeah. That's another part of what's been inspiring to me about getting to know you guys and your work is, you know, Waimanalo is the leading example of this, of building relationships with people outside. You know, you've connected with the schools, the neighborhood board. Your community now values the village and respects it. Not everybody, of course, but there's people that understand the village and value and respect it and will support you. And it's starting to happen in Waimanalo too, with the neighborhood board, and you're reaching out to other folks. And then in Kaka earlier this week, I was in a meeting with John Montanona, who was on the screen earlier, and other folks in Kaka, and they were brainstorming because they'd heard about these examples about, oh, who can we reach out to in Kaka? You know, maybe it's that car dealership over there is friendly to our folks, or the furniture store across the street has, you know, let us take water, or, you know, the Discovery Center, the med school. So they're starting to think along those same lines. And I guess I just share that because that community building model has been really powerful for me to kind of witness and be a part of. You know, I think the last question I want to ask, and then I think we'll have a little bit of time for a Q&A, is what would you ask people in this room to do? Because I get asked that all the time, like, well, what can I do as just an average person about houselessness?
Go to your politicians and ask them to just really come out and spend their time with us, spend time with us to get to know us instead of sitting in their office and just stereotyping and thinking what they think they know about us. They really don't know us until they come out.
You know, for me, I have people, I have an open door policy. Anybody want to come into our village, I'll have one of my kids or even one of my leaders go and take you for a tour, explain to you about the different areas and what the O Wai is and what means. And I think that is very important, you know, not only for the politician, but for others also to come and see what it's like. You know, if you have any ideas, I'm there, I'll listen. If it'll work, we'll try it. If it won't, we'll try something else, you know. I love to get feedbacks. We do have a web page. We do have a uhonua page. Any questions, go ahead. You can go ahead and message us if you don't want to say anything today.
And you also got an opportunity coming up next week, right, for people to come out?
Yes, so November 3rd, we are having a second house open house. Everyone is welcome. From, what time is this? From 10 to 2. Please come. We'll be having also one of our prototype homes built that will be stationed there to people to see what can become of uhonua, or even maybe for other places also. From 10 to 2 next week, Saturday. Everyone is welcome.
How about you, John? What would you ask people to do?
You know, honestly, the homeless community or the houseless community, we're not out there to take advantage of, you know, the free food or that we're being pitied on. You know, we're human beings just like everyone else. But what I can share with you on as far as trying to answer whatever question that you may have is be open-minded. You know, keep everything open and then not making any judgment over any question or any response you get from. Like he said that our community is based on what we do, and we try to help all of our people in the community. But a lot of it, we don't know what's really going to happen. We're not a part of those people that makes those things happen, such as a mayor or a council or whoever it may be. But we are standing here and we are trying to be heard to let everyone know that we are people too. We have families just like you. And the way I look at it is we're all the same. Nothing is different. I mean, we live in the same place. We do the same things everyone does. Why not be part of that community? That community may be ugly looking, but there are down-to-earth people, and not everyone is bad. They just make bad choices. I was one of them, and I'm learning from this, and I hope that I can share my manao to whoever goes out there. But one thing I do want to ask is that I challenge anyone to spend 3 months out there on the streets with nothing, and you make that assessment on what it's like being out there on the street. And it's just a challenge. It's nothing personal. It's getting an inside view from your point of view. I'm giving you mine and my experiences. But people that don't see what we go through, I want them to actually feel what we go through every day.
And for those that cannot spend 3 months on the street, at least come and talk story and have an open mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. We do invite people to come and sleep if they want to come for the weekend. We'll host you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My kids will also come out and spend the evening with you and do fire and marshmallows and whatnot. We had Jessica Terrell from Civil Beat that stayed with us for 6 months, and it was so hilarious, because my kids was destined to make her scared, and they did. They climbed all over the tent and started doing the grudge sound, and I was like, I don't want to hear it. You guys can get it from me. But we do invite people to come and stay. So if you guys want to, you guys more than welcome to come. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. This Hui Aloha group of volunteers, we've been to camps all over the island, and we always ask, even though we don't have services or a program to offer, we'll say, well, what do you need? Like, what do you need? If there's anything that we can do, or we can communicate to other people for you about what the needs are, what is it? And the answer I hear most often is, just come out and treat us like human beings. Like, instead of walking past and either avoiding us or driving past and yelling something out the window at us, just stop and make eye contact. And if there's time to talk story, but at least acknowledge us as people before you move on, I've been really moved by that.
With that, I like to put out there that there is this one vehicle that drives around the Kaka area yelling out derogatory words, and it's very deceiving, and it's heartbreaking personally just to hear somebody yelling out the window, get a job! I got a job. I got a job. So, but the point here is that they're doing this on a daily basis, and it's crazy. And then we get people in the community that is chasing a car down the road, trying to catch up with this person, rather, to do whatever. But, it's out there, and it's that kind of stupidity or stupidness that goes on the street that we deal with every day. So the challenge is huge. It's not for everyone, You know, and if you're safe and cozy in your home, that's where you belong. You know, we went beyond that, and we're paying the price for it. And today we're fighting for it. We're just fighting to be part of a bigger community, the island, the Aloha in the state. We want to bring that Aloha back. It's here. Everybody knows it, but nobody is using it the way it once was. You know, where is that Aloha today? You know, it's in their pocket. It's up in their homes or in their office. I don't know where it's at, but it's not out here on the street. Not the way it should be. Wow. And that's the biggest part about our state today is the lack of Aloha.
Well, and I think your point about, listening with an open mind and an open heart is the first step in that. But also, I would push back on one thing you said, which is, there is not Aloha out there. There are examples of people that are not treating each other with Aloha, but you guys are examples of Aloha in the way you live and the way you try to take care of other people around you. So I want to leave some time for a Q&A from the audience. So I want to pause right now to mahalo you, to say thank you for taking the time to come here. And also something I should have said earlier, which is that I know it can be especially challenging to come and speak up and make your voice heard when you're out on the street, because you're in a very vulnerable situation where if someone recognizes you and doesn't like what you said, whether it's a police officer or a neighbor or someone that lives in the area, that can be a scary thing. So it's a lot easier actually to keep your head down and not stand up and be recognized. So I thank you for your courage and your time for coming out and sharing with us today. Mahalo.
I want to thank you, James, and you, Alani, Kathy, and Kaimana for all your help and support. Thank you very much.
Aloha.